All right, what we're looking at here is 3 colors. Just 3 little colors here. Looking at magenta, yellow, then magenta, cyan, and then cyan and yellow. These are your basic, I guess, primary colors, true primary colors. Primary color, by definition, is a color you cannot duplicate by mixing other colors. So we got red and blue and yellow on our normal color wheel, like so. But if you look here, I've got red represented and I've got that blue represented. So I want to broaden out the actual range of colors that you can achieve with these 3 colors. So we started off with a magenta here, right? And as we take the yellow and start pushing yellow down into it, you're going to start to get those, you got yellow, then like that yellow orange, and then the orangish yellows, and then you're going to get orange, and then you'll get reds, and then you'll get into more of these violet red as you push toward, and then of course magenta down here at the very bottom. So it's a huge range. It's 1/3 of your color wheel, let's say. So the other third would be that magenta pushed with cyan. So the cyan's here and it pushes, and you get the you start pushing it toward those, into the blues, and into the blue violet, and then into the violet, and then down into that the red violet, and then into that magenta again. So basically I start out heavy here, light, 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 and then heavy here, light, light, getting lighter going this way. And basically you just, I've covered every color on that third of the color wheel. On the outside of your color wheel, you'll see those colors. We're not adding white, and we're not adding black to this, or any grays. So you're not going to get those, you know, really dark, deep reds like, you know, you may see an emergency vehicle or something like that. You know, you're not getting that up here. Getting close, you're getting that kind of like a, maybe a schoolhouse red or something like that. You know, just what red basically is, red. So then over here, we push that cyan and yellow together, and we covered all of our yellow greens, true green, and then pushed it down into the blue greens, and then back to that cyan. So these kind of interconnect. This yellow could connect to that yellow, and this right here would then push to that cyan. I'm sorry, magenta, right? And then it would pick up here and push it up to the cyan. And then that cyan would pick up here and push back to that yellow. So that's your kind of like the circle. So this covers every color on the entire spectrum, let's say, minus the values, okay? The whites, the blacks, and the grays. So I wanted to do some work with these and kind of show from this book here, the big book of Lesser Demons, that these 3 colors can really give you a nice dynamic, something you could work with just as a learning tool more than a finished work, you know. So you can push and get that really icy look, you know. Or you can, that's with the magenta and the cyan. I didn't finish these. I kind of stopped halfway in between. It's like, you know what, I think I want to make a video. So here you're working with that cyan and pushing into those yellows here. And then the magenta with the yellows here. So there's just so much color going on in here. You're getting those nice reds. See, you're getting those violet reds and coming out, and you're catching a lot of that orange in there, and the yellow orange, and you're just getting all that flavor, you know, all these, it's just dynamic. Instead of just taking your orange, excuse me, orange pencil out and maybe blending it around, you know, go in there and try this right here. Try to get these colors. And I'm going to demonstrate on some pages here and kind of just show which way I'm going. I think I'll start out with this one here because it's probably one of my favorite of the color wheel, is running around this magenta and yellow. So basically what I did was I just started out with a nice sharp pencil, and I started thinking, now to be fair, this is a grayscale coloring, so you're going to get some of those values, and we're going to lean into those, you know, let's just lean into those values. And this is as if, okay, I want to do this picture as a finished picture, you know, and so we won't worry about some of the other odd, you know, different things that are going on, like his horns, the shackle here, the chains, the skull, his teeth, his tongue, you know, those kinds of things. We'll leave those off the table for now. We're just going to basically jump into the skin tone just so we can push and play with this color. It's just an awesome exercise. Just checking my, make sure you can see me. It's an awesome exercise. I think the value, this is like a gift if you can pull this off. Just take those 150 pencil sets and just set it to the side for a few days, a week or so. You know, set it off to the side, grab a magenta, and I'll go over it. This is Prismacolor pencils is what I'm using. This is magenta. For the cyan, the closest you can get is called non-photo blue, and it's a Prismacolor. And I use the canary yellow as my yellow. So that's what I'm using. You can mix up whatever yellow you want, you know, if you find a little better blue or whatever. That's the beauty of this, you know. It's you can kind of flavor it however you want it. So we're going to push into these areas here, and we're going to start, and I'm just going to work real loose to start putting some color in. And I'm going to hug these shadows, of course, because in this, what I'm doing here, I'm going to allow my shadows to be that darker, of course, and then the bright coming out, almost like he's got this energy welling out, you know, just coming out of him. Oh no, it's gonna break. Oh, Prismacolor got me again. Always get me. They're my favorite pencils. That's just one of those things you got to deal with, you know. Couldn't be perfect, could it? So I'm just pulling that magenta through here and not trying to be artsy or anything like that. And I'm kind of following the you know, every book and every is going to have a different style. This is a lot of line work, you know. If you see these hatch marks and things like that, well, just with what you're doing, copy what you're seeing on your page. If it was more of a smooth, you know, transition and stuff, it wasn't this bold, then you might you know, really get in there and concentrate on but this right here, I like the line work, so I'm gonna lean into it, you know, use that to my advantage. And I'm just gonna start finding some of these lines, just follow them around a little bit out here. Something like that. Finding some of these darker areas here. All right, now I'm just going to start working my way out of these areas and just start going light. Lightly out of there. Now we're going to leave room for the yellow, you know. We're not going to press into here and start taking over. And it's going to be fun whenever you break out the yellow here. We'll get some going here in just a second. So when you break out that yellow, you've given it that space an area to work and blend and go from that magenta through those red violets, and then push into that red, and then push out of the red and start heading toward that yellow. You'll start to hit those the orange, red orange, and then the yellow orange, and then finally land at that yellow somewhere right around in there, you know. So right now I'm just kind of laying in some of this magenta. Now out in some of the brighter areas, you may want to lead with yellow, because it kind of does, it does affect the color depending on which color you lead with. Whoever you press in first kind of owns the stage right here, you know. So we're going to press in with yellow right there, and press in with our yellows up here. A little bit there, yeah. Just kind of press these colors in, and then we're going to start pushing from there into our magentas. Just put a glaze through there, right on all the way through. So we just left yellow. Move right up into that yellowy orange color. And just keep pressing it and pressing it and pressing it. Takes about 50-50 to get to red. So if you want to get red, you got to come back with some magenta, and then start pushing a little bit more magenta. And the way I judge it is, I say, okay, is this magenta now? Has it leapfrogged over red and jumped to magenta? Yeah, it has. It's over in that red violet color. So that just tells me that it needs a little bit more of this yellow, right? So we'll just add in some more of that yellow. Then I start looking at this yellow, and it's like, okay, I just leapfrogged the red and jumped back into orange coloring. So okay, well, let's take and bounce back, grab our magenta, push it again. Now we're into that, getting into that red. There we go. Now we want to push that into orange out here, you know. So then we'll just start adding a little bit more yellow, right? Let's put that there, just for the fun of it, right? I'm going to go a little more violet up in this darker area. So I'm going to leapfrog over that red color and push violet in there, which is, I'm just adding magenta to that red, and leapfrogging it and getting it over there. So now we can take and start pulling up and go kind of to the red in the center of that, and let that, yeah. Now you'll catch, as this yellow passes through the black, it'll go green, because that black has a lot of blue in it. So basically, we're covering everything in that spectrum. If you think about it, on that 1/3 of the color wheel, from the magenta to the yellow, we're going to catch all those dynamic colors, and we're just going to give this guy a super glowy effect, you know. We're not worried about using the white and the let's just push. We're not worried about white, so I'm not going to let that be white out on this cheek there. You would think, you know, and technically I guess it would be more of a white color. And then we're just going to be pushing. There we go. Push a little bit more magenta out there. Try to get some red right here before it dips down. This is going to be that red violet down here, so I can add a little bit more magenta in there. There we go. Let's see if we can pull some red down right in here. we're just going to ask ourselves this question. Is it pushing more toward the yellow? Which it is. So we need more magenta. So we'll push this magenta back in there. We'll start trying to get it closer and closer to that red. Very close. So now we're going to pull up into here with some orange, right? So we're not going to push it to red. We're not going to let it go that far. It's going to look kind of like magenta right here until we really get a good mix on the color. So then we'll come in, add a little bit more yellow. Start out here and push it in. So that yellow, got that yellow orange going right there. I'm talking about this spot here. I want to get to red, but that's too yellow to be red, right? So you add a little bit more magenta. Push this line right here, really red, right along here. There we go. Just a little bit too magenta. There we go. Pull up. Get a good blend on there. And there's going to be some variations because, you know, let's face it, we're not machines, right? So, you know, it's not going to have like perfect blend every time and in every space. But that variation is what I think is really nice. So let's push some more yellow right here and really bring out that yellow orange. There we go. Push it up into here. Pretty cool effect. So now let's jump, you know, so, you know, past that. So let's go to this icy look, which is pretty incredible. So that looks, you know, that's magenta and that's cyan right here. But where's my actual picture at? There we go. All right, so let's do this, right? So we'll start out in these darker areas again. So just push that magenta in there. Something like that right there, right? Follow through some of these areas right here. Glaze it all the way through this color, right? And let that grayscale be like a little bit of a guide for you, you know? But in all honesty, some of these are actually shadows and should have been, you know, they should be, you know, run your light color up there and then push them back with your black or, you know, a darker color. So this right here, using this technique and just playing around, this is more of a study because we're leaving out a lot of things like we're leaving out one of the most important aspects of coloring is your colors that are opposite on the color wheel. You know, you really want to bring those out when you want to do your nice shadows and stuff like that. I mean, when you're doing orange, there's nothing better than to come into your shadows with a blue, you know? So we're just going to bypass all that for right now because we're just doing a color study. So it can be a really quick, sketchy, you know, sketchy thing here. Something like that, right? So now we're going to come in with our cyan. Didn't even get sharp. Is it breaking? All right. Alright, so now we'll go in here and push our cyan in, and then push it down. We're going to be getting all that purple and violet out of this. So we're going to get our cyan there. The cool thing is this is actually how you make blue. So you're going to get a really, look at that blue right in there. It's intense, really nice blue. It's not that hard to make, you know. So I'm going to cruise up here, catch this little shadow here, and push it into a, try to do a little bit of a violet color here, yeah. So just keep pushing it. When you say it looks, it's pushed past violet, you can watch it as it's doing it, as you're moving through there. You can see where you push through and push too far. Let's push this, pull this down right here. Push, 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 push. And pull it down lightly over that. There we go. So let's go ahead and pull. We're going to pull our the cyan through here. And if you're doing like icy look, you know, you do want the whites in there. So I might cheat a little bit here just for the effect, you know. Yeah, just push underneath this eye. Get those nice blues and violets. There we go. I'm just gonna come out here and kind of get out in the open, you know. Run across here. We're going to take our violet and slowly start, take our magenta and work it out of there some. Push some more of the cyan through there. You can see where this is going, covering all these colors. So the more you lean into one, you know, you're pushing away from another. It means you're moving around that color wheel. If it's too much magenta, just push it, push it, push it, push it, push it, until you get there. There's too much of the cyan. You just go over there and push it back with some magenta until you're in that area you want to be in. I'm just glazing through. I'm doing this so fast. I'm just not really worried too much. I think you'll get the general idea of what I'm doing. And if you wanted to try something like this, you could go back and then, you know, just take your time and add it, you know, a little bit slower. I'm just whipping through this really quick, kind of pencil whipping it out. Let's push a little more violet up around the eyes here. Yeah. If we went too far in some areas, like right over here, I'm gonna push it toward, get it toward that natural looking blue color. This is how you make blues, with magenta and cyan, make an actual blue. So this is kind of like, you know, you see where it's going, right? So now we'll do the other version of it. We'll take our yellow this time, start out with it maybe. Kind of push around some areas like right there, right there. And if you've gone and watched my other videos, you know, and you'll see where I leave room a lot of times for other colors. You kind of see where I get that from. And I'm allowing these colors to have its space, but then blend into other colors, you know. So that's what, see, I've kind of highlighted some areas here where I know I want to push into now. So now I'm going to take my color here, and I'm gonna start out down here, you know, give it its space down here. That's gonna be that blue, or cyan, I guess you'd call it. But when you're playing over here, you're playing with cyan. It doesn't get to go blue in this scenario. You know, blue's over here with the blue and magenta. It's not over here. Now we're dealing with greens, right? We're pushing yellows and greens and all that good stuff over here. So I'm gonna start out with our two main colors here. There we go. Now we can start doing a little bit of blending them together, you know. Yellow is a very potent color. Very, very potent. You want to start out very, very lightly with the yellows. Especially if you're pushing yellow first. It'll eat up the paper before you know it. You won't have any room for your blue. Push for some actual greens down here, like the actual green color. So when I ask myself, you know, looking at what I'm doing, I just want to ask myself, you know, which area is this leaning? Is it leaning toward magenta, or is it leaning toward, I'm sorry, cyan, or is it leaning toward yellow? Right now it's leaning toward the cyan here, right? So that just tells me, hey, in order to get to actual green, you're going to need a little bit more yellow. So let's put that little bit more yellow in there. Yeah. So now we got a green. We could say, you know, some of this is a little bit too yellow. That's all right. Go in here. Now, just for our values and stuff like that, as we're going, you know, darker area, we'll go with this cooler blue, maybe right in there. Pick up some of these details, something like that right there. And we can really push our yellows right here. Push a little bit more green. There we go. And then some of these areas will bypass green and push it more toward that blue-green. Like right there in that spot. See, it's a little bit more blue-green than green. So, you know, I'm just going real quick. So, you know, if you spent your time like trying to blend all this in, it wouldn't be so spotty in these areas, which I just want to do this real quickly. So just kind of showing you, you know, we're covering just by doing 1, 2, 3. We just covered the entire color wheel right there. Now minus the values, you know what I'm saying? So we're really, just by pushing these colors, you're gonna get so much out of it. But thanks for watching. I hope that you give this a try. I think it'll improve your knowledge of color, and that way when you're looking at your pencils, your individual pencils, you'll know where they go. The only thing is, stuff like this pink, let's say, well, we know that it's red, which is right there, right? But it's got white in it. So, and then you look at like your maroon, you know it's red, but it's got that dark color. And some colors, you may call it red, but it's actually, maybe it has a little bit of cyan mixed into it. And just so you know, each one of these colors took on something else, okay? I just want you to understand, for your complementary colors, magenta stole from blue and took green. Now magenta and green are complementary colors, right? Yellow and violet are still the same, but red took this blue right, this cyan. So cyan and red, magenta and green, yellow still has purple. So just keep that in mind as you're doing it. All right, thank you very much.